Hi everyone, my name is Tom Rochford and I am the manager of learning solutions here at HR Downloads. As a learning designer for the better part of my career, one place I always look for great learning insight is in the past. This is why we put together this series of videos to help you all learn a little bit more from past pandemics, take those lessons, apply them into the future, and hopefully bring a little bit more certainty into your lives. Our first video is going to be about false starts. But before we get going, I want to give a huge shout out to all the frontline workers out there protecting us, but also some unsung heroes, our HR leaders who have had to adapt to rapidly changing events. Let's be sure to thank these people every chance we get. So, what do we mean by a false start? For that, let's look back at two cities who had a similar but very different battle against the Spanish flu in 1918. This chart examines Philadelphia and St. Louis during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. We can clearly see why everyone is beating the social distancing drum so hard. The vertical axis is the death rate per 100,000, and the bottom axis is time. While not practicing social distancing does resolve the pandemic at a faster rate, it did in Philadelphia, it did so at a great societal cost. The death rate in Philly topped 250 per 100,000. In today's society, a city with a population of 20 million, that's 50,000 dead per week. Unlike St. Louis, we see the death rate breach over just 50 people per 100,000. So we did see that St. Louis did not suffer the death rate that Philly did, but they did make a mistake that other areas of the world are debating making during the COVID 19 outbreak, and that's ending social distancing too early. This chart shows St. Louis during the pandemic. The little triangle is the first diagnosed case, and the bars at the bottom of the chart are the different measures they implemented and for how long. After about a month and a half of social distancing, St. Louis started to see results. The curve was indeed flattening, but the drive to get back to normal life caused authorities to lift the school closures and public gathering bans too early, and the death rate nearly doubles from 30 people to 60 in a very short period of time. Still not the 250 that Billy saw, but this is what a false start can cause: longer periods of social distancing and a longer road to economic recovery. But what are the implications for you all? Well, that first question we need to try and land on is how long will this lockdown last? The short answer is quite obvious. We simply don't know. That really depends on a whole bunch of different factors, including the incubation time, among other variables. For example, the incubation time of the Spanish flu was estimated to be around 2 to 7 days, but COVID 19, 1 to 14 days. Also, the percentage of asymptomatic carriers complicates matters significantly. But the single most important factor in controlling this pandemic is ourselves, and more specifically, our ability to adhere to social distancing and stay home orders. Some experts are saying 24 months and that we could see localized outbreaks on a regional basis. But some also say we don't know what summer will bring. It's a very tough call to set a time window on how long this will last. But we know it will continue at least for the next few months. We need to start there first. We put together a small tool called the Business Continuity Calculator that we released on our free blog. Do be sure to check it out if you're starting to get concerned about cash flows. That tool will help you understand how many months your organization can tolerate depressed demand over a few different scenarios. We'll talk about a little bit more about scenario planning in a couple of slides. For our HR leaders whose organizations have gone remote, don't forget about culture and maintaining connection. Think about the things that made the office fun and engaging. Develop digital versions of those activities and ensure staff are praised publicly for their good work. This especially applies to organizations who have limited or no experience managing remote workers. Remember that momentum can fall off if engagement and culture are not proactively managed. Don't wait until there's a problem. If you're a business owner or an HR leader of an essential service, build out a process for deep cleaning and also emergency procedures in case an employee becomes sick with COVID 19 on the job. This could include quarantining all employees that have come in contact with that employee, so develop a plan for substituting shifts with healthy employees. For all HR leaders, plan for a phased return to work plan, Identify which group of employees will come back and when. Let's ensure we learn from the St. Louis during the Spanish flu and prepare for the reintroduction of social distancing if local outbreaks are detected by local health authorities. And most obviously, stay in tune with those local health authorities, checking their websites on a daily basis. The next slide, this step is very, very important, and that's scenario planning. That idea I mentioned a few slides ago. This step really involves hypothesizing potential recovery scenarios and determining what your business is going to do to manage each scenario. That way, you have plans at the ready for when the recovery begins. Map out the precise tactic you will deploy at each stage of the scenario. For example, let's say the virus dies off over the summer, as what happened with SARS, and within weeks, shelter in place orders are lifted globally and a speedy recovery is underway. How is your organization going to act? Are you going to try and capture some of those high value employees who have been laid off by other organizations in your area? How are you going to get professional development reignited with your staff? What skills or what skill gaps, I should say, do you have now that some employees, may not be coming back to the job? Scenario planning is an organizational wide effort and must be led and driven from the top down. So just a review slide here. Remember to maintain culture for remote workers, develop new health and safety procedures as appropriate for employers of essential services, create a phased return to work plan for all employers that accounts for a potential false start, and start scenario planning now and create a post-pandemic playbook. Well, that's the end of this video. We sincerely hope you grabbed some insights that brought a bit more certainty into your lives during this incredibly uncertain time. Our team at HRD is working hard to consume and analyze the most up-to-date events relating to the pandemic. We're all working really hard, but safely, to contextualize those events and provide thoughtful analysis, build useful templates, and remember, we're always here to support you during this time. From all of us at HRD, thank you for taking the time. Stay strong and stay healthy.